Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Preston M. Smith. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm Preston M. Smith, at PMS Artwork everywhere on internet land and socials. I want to thank you for landing on this podcast. Whether you're a professional artist, just getting started in the art world, a collector of art, or just consider yourself a creative person, this podcast has something for you. I like to think of it as a fun way to rant and talk to other creative people about living the life of an artist, surviving and getting ahead in the art world, and enjoying your life. But most importantly, not waiting until you're dead to make it happen. All right, let's get started.
Yes, hello, and welcome back to the Living Artist Podcast. We're glad to have you back.
Hey!
What is it?
Look over here!
Yeah, I'm looking. What is it? What do you want?
Can I have your attention, please?
You've got my attention. What is it do you want?
I don't want to do this.
Why are you throwing a tantrum?
I just wanted you to look over here. Now that I got your attention.
I don't even know what I was saying anymore. Enjoy the podcast, everybody.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Yes, that was a ridiculous example of what we're going to be talking about today. And what we're going to be talking about today is, I think, very important, and it's kind of omnipresent in our society right now. Before we get into it, just apologies for not having a new podcast last week. Have been struggling with my health pretty badly, so just trying to focus in on that so I could come in and give you a good podcast episode. It really feeds into what we're talking about today because I struggle a lot with doing this podcast anymore because sometimes it doesn't feel very valid to do it with how bad my health is. And, I try to not share too much about what's going on because the details are pretty horrific. But I do want to be honest also, because if I'm not being honest with you, then you don't really know what's going on. And some of my podcasts can kind of seem like a little bit too forced or inauthentic. So I struggle with how much of that to share with you on the podcast and how much to share of my health struggles, because it's pretty bleak, but I also love doing this podcast and I want to bring it to you. But it kind of segues into what I want to talk to you about today, which is authenticity and what we're dealing with, which is like the attention economy. And I wanted to start with myself just because I'm sure there are people out there who go, I listen to his podcast and he talks about his health a lot. And yes, I do. But I try to do it in a way that is just to kind of explain what's going on, why things are happening, why the energy is low, or why I'm not able to bring you an episode or something this week or last week. But I also don't do it to get attention. I stopped being on social media 2 years ago, even though, it was a big outlet for my art and to showcase my art. And I was posting every day, multiple times a day, showing new artwork, doing reels, doing stories, doing videos. And I just stopped doing it because I didn't want to be inauthentic on social media. I didn't want to, just be sitting there complaining all the time about my health because people really don't understand in the first place. And secondly, I just don't want to be that public facing with my health struggles and make it all about that. I'd rather have it be about my art. Also, I haven't been able to talk to anybody because it takes a lot of energy and it takes a lot of my nervous system gets spiked every time I talk to people or answer people on social media. And I just decided to focus on being well. I feel like I took kind of a authentic route to trying to get healthy, which I'm still working on. It's a work in progress. But I'm probably not going to be back on social media until I am feeling well. So that's the route that I chose to take. But we are living in an attention economy, and that is for sure. And there's many different versions of this. And health struggles are one. And I think sometimes people, when they post too much about their health struggles or give you like a real-time updates on, what's happening with them, for me, I don't know. I mean, I understand people need support from people, but I don't think social media is really the way to do it. Sometimes I see real-time updates of somebody's health struggles, and I'm like, I can barely get on my phone. I can, if I get a text message from somebody who I haven't heard from, it sets my nervous system off, and I have a hard time getting back into my day. And that's just like a text message. So I don't know how these people have the ability to write social media posts and then answer hundreds of people when they're feeling so bad. But that is, part of the attention economy. And I think some of that is that, yes, they want support. You can argue that that's not real support and that's not like helping you to get a bunch of people's comments randomly and then maybe never hear from them again or have to answer them again. But I'm sure it does fill a little bit of a void, and at very least it gives you a little bit of attention and a dopamine hit. And maybe that's enough for you to feel better that day. But I question it. And I question it more when it comes to getting attention as far as like being an influencer, obviously, or trying to get your art out there and sell your art. I know we're all vying for attention these days, but that's what I want to talk about today. And I want to kind of throw that into question a little bit of like the methods we're using. And is this the best way to get attention and to get attention for our work specifically as artists? Well, I think we should start with a very important question. And you might be like, well, yeah, obviously I'm going to, but I challenge you to really think about this because I think a lot of people nowadays, maybe especially younger people, but it doesn't even have to be younger artists. It can be any artists of any age group. Would you still be creating your art today if you didn't have a social media outlet to show it? Would you still be creating your art if you couldn't post it on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or throw in your social media app of choice? Would you still be excited to create your artwork if those didn't exist? Because I feel like sometimes that need to create art has shifted from, I love to create art, I'm doing this for me, for my self-expression. There's always been a need to get your work out there and to get attention for your art and to sell your work, of course. But sometimes it's just about nowadays getting that instant gratification on a piece or working on a piece or showing you the studio or whatever you're doing to get attention. And, maybe you're selling some work through that, but maybe you're just getting that dopamine hit from, oh, I'm an artist, I'm showing my work. So that's a very important question nowadays in this day and age, in the AI era and the social media era is, would you be doing art still? Would you still be wanting to do your art as much if social media or if these social media platforms didn't exist? For me personally, I would argue I like to do my art even more when I'm not doing social media. Social media is a distraction. Sometimes it is a necessary evil to get your artwork out there and to maybe have, enough followers that a gallery takes you seriously. But even that's kind of ridiculous. And I throw that into question too. Are we really using the right metrics here? Because we all know there's ways to grow your social media with, if you have the money to hire a firm to kind of promote you and get more likes, or these bots. I don't know if people are still doing those, but you can grow your social media in an inauthentic way. And for that to give you validity in a gallery's eyes is just ridiculous, or a collector's eyes. So I think that's going to be something that we're really going to be having to reevaluate in the future. And maybe that's not even going to be a barometer of like, oh, is this a great artist anymore? Or there are already movements of people kind of trying to get away from social media and to get back to a grassroots type of life and, way of creating. I'm all for that. I think ideally in the future, there's a healthy balance of both, and we're not just slaves to our social media. And let me tell you firsthand, dealing with chronic illness and this disease, social media can be a huge wear and tear on your health and your stress levels and living in a state of chronic stress and anxiety. I do think we're going to be finding more illnesses coming out from people just constantly feeling like they need to be present and, notification, dings, I got to check this. This is, what's going on here? I got to answer this person answer me. I got to put this out there. I got to, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And we already have enough to deal with in this modern era without having to be in a state of chronic stress. It will break you down over time. Believe me. You heard it here first. So that's one thing. Another thing is sometimes it just comes across as inauthentic. I'm talking about the attention economy. I'm talking about the look at me economy. Like, oh, look at my life. I'm living my best life. Some people have these curated social media feeds where they're like traveling all the time or they're in the best places. And maybe that's not really how they are, but they're just portraying that, like their audience facing personality or persona is that. And you don't even have these things you're showing, but you're just trying to pretend that you are or fake it till you make it. There are genuine ways to fake it till you make it, but being inauthentic, I don't believe is one of those. And there's ways to be inauthentic and, get attention. Like the attention economy can also be the victim economy. Like, I'm a bigger victim than you. You've had this. Well, look at me. I've had this. And people use that because it gets attention. It gets eyeballs. It gets likes. It gets comments. And that it can be very alluring and addicting to people to be a bigger victim, to get eyeballs and attention. And then you can kind of, use that as a springboard. But that can be inauthentic too. It can be the struggle economy, and you can pick that, pick your struggle. Like, I know somebody who is constantly finding a new label every week, it seems like, of, oh, I am this, like, now I'm this label, I'm this diagnosis, or I'm as a quote unquote person, and then they go on and get attention that way. And people, whether it's authentic or not, people comment on it. I think we should question whether or not the things we're doing are getting honest responses, whether we're getting responses from people who are like actually who care, or if it's something they just think they need to answer and then they're on to their thing and then you have to comment on theirs, and it just becomes this like vicious cycle of who's out struggling or who's out labeling the other person. So there's a lot of that. And I'm only saying this today to kind of throw all these things into question, because I think we always are having to adapt as artists and to figure out new ways to be authentic. And I think sometimes maybe it's more authentic nowadays to not do this at all and to, not get the instant gratification and to work on more of the bare bones artist thing, which is like building your work, building your body of work, building your studio, building your presence in the real world with artistic communities and galleries, and yes, online galleries as well. And then doing a little bit of drip on social media of your work just to get eyeballs, but not really doing it in a way that seems like, look at me, I have this problem, or I have this struggle, or I have, this happened to me, or whatever. And then using that to get attention for your art. I think that is where it kind of crosses over into the inauthentic realm. Now, I'm not saying you can never post those things. Things do happen. And sometimes you are going to tell people what's going on, or maybe it's just practical, like with this podcast, like, okay, I'm struggling right now. And it's hard for me to put out content. And I question every day, should I even be doing the podcast right now? But I do it because I love it. And I do it because I still feel like I have something to offer. And for me, that feels authentic. But I also know that if you share too much or you overshare, if I overshared how much I was struggling every day, people wouldn't want to listen because it's just a downer. So yeah, it's a balance. It's a balancing act of sharing what you're going through on some level in a practical way, and then also just getting to what you're actually talking about or what you're showing with your artwork. So these are all things that I just wanted to talk about today because I think that is important. It's more important than ever. Everybody's kind of a public facing, entity now. It's like we all are not just our artwork, but we're our persona, we're our story. And it can be very alluring, like I said, and addicting to make your story more and more interesting by fibbing a little bit, or, oh, maybe this didn't happen, but I can use this and I can expand on this and make my struggle more than it actually is, or whatever. Make my life look more appealing than it actually is. I'm not really here to hate on anybody with this podcast or to cast judgment. It's more about a thought experiment and taking these ideas and thinking about them in your own life. Am I being authentic? Am I putting my art first? Am I really doing this for the right reasons? Because I think art is about standing the test of time, and these social media platforms and the zeitgeist now and the things that we're all finding valid in the moment might not be valid in 10 years. And if you're authentic, at least, you don't have to look back on it and be like, oh, that was a bunch of bullshit. Or like, people don't listen to you now because that era has passed and now it's like you don't have anything to stand on. Or maybe you just decide, I don't want to do art anymore because social media is not really giving me the hit that I want as much as it did in the past. And now I have nothing to do my art for. That's obviously the wrong reason to be an artist and to be creating art. So these are just questions that we all should be asking ourselves. And you can also take that and use it as a way to maybe even think about ways that you can create art and create attention in a more authentic way that gets you more eyeballs in the long run, but also makes you stand the test of time even stronger, which I think that is the main thing we're trying to do. It's always about consistency, the long game, and doing something from an authentic place. So I'm going to leave it at that for today. I just wanted to get this out here quick, doing another floor cast in between treatments here. Still working on my health, still working on getting better. Doctor's appointment today. So hopefully, things will be turning around. Can't wait to be getting out into the real world again and to be taking this whole thing and this podcast even to the next level. But hope you're all doing well out there. Take care of yourselves, take care of everybody else, and think about this. Think about if this is negatively affecting your nervous system too, and use that as a springboard to become a little bit more rooted in what you actually want to do and be more of an authentic artist. So we'll see you all next time on the next episode, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
How dare you judge me with my struggle, you melon farmer. Judge you with Judgerson. I went through a stone living in a glass house, buddy. Anyway, what else I said? Hang on a second, that's Instagram. That's really important. Oh, they commented. Okay, like and delete and block. Alright, melon farmers, we'll see you next time. So long, suckers!
This has been the Living Artist Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I just want you to know that I appreciate you being here, and I'm grateful to be in your ears. Your art and creative life on this planet is meaningful, so thank you for sharing it with me. If you like this podcast, whatever platform you're listening to it on, please subscribe and share it with your friends. You can also leave me a positive review to show your support. This helps me to reach more people with the algorithmic magic and keep the show going strong. If you want to see more of what I do and check out the art that I create, you can visit my website at www.pmsartwork.com or follow me on social media everywhere at PMS Artwork. That's it for now. See you back here next time.